Letting go of a narcissist after an abusive relationship can be one of the most difficult things that you'll ever have to do. It's a little counterintuitive, and it's really hard for people that haven't experienced it to understand why it would be so hard to let go of somebody that has been so cruel and has been such a burden in your life. In this video, I'm going to go over several of the most common reasons that it is so difficult to let go of a narcissist, and hopefully help you, if you're struggling with this, to process some of these reasons. Welcome to Looking Behind the Mirror, where we explore narcissism and take our lives back as we make sense out of nonsense. As a quick disclaimer, everything I say is based on my opinions and my personal experiences. I'm not a professional, and if you're really struggling, I encourage you to seek professional help. I am providing links below for you. The first reason that it's so hard to let go of a narcissist is one that I kind of want to get out of the way because it's something that I've gone over quite a bit in other videos. And that is that we can become trauma bonded to narcissists. A trauma bond is very much like an addiction. We can actually become addicted to the relationship. And this addiction to the relationship can masquerade as an addiction to the narcissist, him or herself. Because of the inconsistency that we experienced in the relationship and because of how poorly we were treated, we actually got to the point where we felt like we were experiencing some sort of drug high when we were just being treated with civility and decency. And unfortunately, this may have led to us chasing that drug high and actually becoming addicted to the relationship. Now, that really is the strongest, hardest reason to overcome. That's the reason that will really keep our head spinning. This is the reason that's going to make separating from the narcissist so incredibly painful. But I also want to get into some more specific reasons that might help you think your way through some of the things that you're processing. There are many things when we separate from a narcissist that we have to accept. Really hard things that we need to accept and somehow move on from. One of these things is accepting that certain dreams we had or expectations we had or things that we looked forward to are never going to happen. Maybe we always envisioned marrying this person or growing old with this person. Maybe we thought we were going to buy a house with this person or have a child together. Maybe it was just as simple as imagining having every Christmas with this person or going on a certain vacation with this person. These dreams and expectations and projections of the future in our heads are things that are really painful to let go of. This can really be exacerbated if the narcissist was future faking or promising us things that really meant a lot to us that we were really excited about and really looking forward to. We have to let go of these dreams and we have to reinvent our entire future. Possibly the entire rest of our life was mapped out in some way with this person in it. We have to reimagine so many things that we really had our heart set on. I know how heartbreaking this is and how hard it is to accept that certain things will never happen, but I want you to consider that it's probably not too late for most of the things that you had dreamed about, that these things can be shared with somebody that's not an abusive monster. You might be able to find someone, you should be able to find someone eventually when you're ready that can have a real, authentic, loving, caring relationship with you. And you can fulfill these dreams or new dreams with somebody that actually appreciates it, that can actually dream with you instead of using your dreams as manipulative tools. As you grow and heal and move further away from this toxic relationship, you will form new dreams with better, deeper meaning. And someday you'll look back at the dreams that you let go of and you'll see how shallow they were. Another thing that's really hard to accept as we move on from a narcissistic relationship is that the narcissist blames you. It's all your fault. It doesn't matter what the narcissist did. The narcissist could have been the most abusive monster on earth, could have been physically, emotionally violent, could have stolen from you, lied to you, cheated on you, screamed at you, insulted you every day. It doesn't matter. The narcissist could have done any horrible thing or put you through any kind of unimaginable hell, but somehow it's always going to be your fault. And it's really hard to let go of this urge to keep trying to defend ourselves and explain ourselves and convince the narcissist of the ways that the narcissist ruined the relationship. It's really hard to walk away and be okay with somebody that was so cruel and senseless and destructive, blaming us for it, whether the narcissist really believes that it was our fault or not. And a lot of them really truly do believe that it's all your fault. It's really, really hard to somehow be okay with that. And unfortunately for a lot of us, these games that the narcissist played with us, blaming us for everything, might have kind of worked, and we may have actually started wondering if we were to blame. And that can be a whole other thing that we need to process and let go of, is the way that we may blame ourselves for the way that the relationship fell apart. In order to let go of a narcissistic relationship, we really have to accept that the narcissist will never be able to take accountability. No matter what happens, the narcissist always has to blame you. I think it helps to know that this isn't anything personal. The narcissist doesn't really care if it's your fault. The narcissist just can't take the fault onto him or herself. It could be anybody else's fault, but the narcissist just can't take responsibility for anything. So it's not anything personal against you. The narcissist is going to go about his or her life for the rest of his or her life, blaming anyone and everyone that they can for everything that goes wrong in their life. It's not that it's your fault. It's that it's not their fault. And if it's not their fault, it kind of has to be your fault. Another thing that's really hard to accept is that the person that we loved wasn't really real. The narcissist is always playing a part, always filling a role, always writing a character or playing a character. There's really nothing genuine or authentic about the person that the narcissist presents. So when we fall in love with a narcissist, we're really responding to a lot of mirroring and a lot of contrived behavior, personality. This person that we imagine we're with doesn't really exist. And unfortunately, because of trauma bonding and because of mirroring and manipulation, this person might be somebody that we feel like we are very, very deeply in love with. And it's really heart-wrenching, heartbreaking, very hard to accept that this person that we're so attached to actually doesn't even really exist. I don't really know how to help you get over this part other than I can promise you that with time, you will come to accept this. And I know how soul crushing this is, how hard it is. I mean, it's like somebody that you loved very much died. It really feels like this deep grief of having to let go of somebody, and there's no funeral, there's no flowers, there's no sympathy. People don't really understand how much grief you're in when this person that you were so attached to just disappears and doesn't exist anymore. I just want to promise you that as you heal and as you work on yourself and work on your ability to function in a healthy, reciprocal relationship, you will come to intuitively understand how shallow this relationship actually was, how one-sided it actually was. And you'll come to understand that this person that you imagined you were with really didn't exist and really wasn't a realistic, real, three-dimensional human being, because someday you'll be able to have a healthy relationship with a whole, healthy, three-dimensional human being, and you'll see the difference. That you'll see a day where you won't miss this person, you won't grieve for this person anymore, because you'll see how superficial this really was and how all of the depth and importance that come with a real relationship was something that your mind just kind of tried to fill the holes in. That this relationship was something that you really are so much better off without. It's also really hard to accept that we trusted someone and were vulnerable with somebody that completely exploited us, lied to us, and betrayed us. Being vulnerable is difficult enough on its own, and being vulnerable with somebody that makes us feel like we can trust him or her is the ultimate betrayal when it turns out that we can't trust that person. It's really hard to get over that and accept that this person could have stabbed us in the back like that after all we tried to do was love them. All we tried to do was have a healthy relationship with someone. We just didn't want to be alone, and we thought we found someone we could trust. This really, really hurts, and I think that it can really damage our ability to trust people moving forward in the future. It can make us doubt our own judgment because we probably felt very confident that we could trust this person. It really makes us stop and rethink our whole perspective on the people that we choose to share our lives with. And paired with this is also having to accept that we largely imagined the way that the narcissist felt about us. The narcissist is never really genuine or authentic about the way they're feeling. They pretend a lot, they play the part, and the way they feel about you is no exception to that. Narcissists pretend to be in love. They love bomb people. They say what people want to hear. They go through the motions. And I do think that a lot of narcissists believe that they are in love with their partners, but that it's a very superficial infatuation that's largely just based on the way that partner is making the narcissist feel about him or herself. Narcissists never really get to know you, so they can never really have any deep, meaningful love for you or anybody else. It's just a really superficial, shallow infatuation about how good you're making them feel about themselves that sadly really has nothing to do with you. And having to accept this really hurts when, after maybe years in the relationship, you look back and realize certain times where you assumed that the narcissist had the same depth of emotion for you that you had for him or her. You assumed that you were in love with each other, that you were both committed to the relationship, that you both had strong feelings for each other. And it's really humiliating to realize that this was a one-sided relationship, that after all that idealization and shallow infatuation, the narcissist probably quickly started to devalue you and just cycle back and forth between these two completely unrealistic ideas of idealizing you and then thinking that you can't do anything right and that you're a complete failure and disappointment. That love that you felt for the narcissist, those strong feelings that you felt, were not returned, were not reciprocated. And that really, really hurts. Another thing that's really hard to accept is that there is no justice for what you've been through, for all the things that the narcissist takes from us, for the abuse, for the aftermath, for the years of healing that we may have to go through, for the scars, the emotional scars, maybe even the physical ones, for the financial devastation we may go through, for all the things that narcissists do to ruin people's lives. There's really no justice. Even in the best case scenario, there's just no way that a narcissist could ever repay his or her victims for the damage they cause. And a lot of times narcissists unfortunately come out on top of things because of how manipulative and charming that they can be, and because of their lack of empathy. They can absolutely destroy a perfectly innocent person's life, and it doesn't bother them one bit. They will still continue to try to shift all of the blame, try to take anything that they can. They will leave you out penniless on the street, and it doesn't bother them one bit. If they're able to do that, they will, because they really don't care about anyone but themselves, and they especially don't care about somebody that they are pretending is completely 100% to blame for all of the misery in the relationship that you just escaped. It's really hard to learn how to be okay with this. There's a deep need for revenge or communication or just acknowledgement. If the narcissist could just say, hey, I did a really awful thing to you and you didn't deserve that and I'm sorry, that would probably mean the world to most victims of narcissistic abuse. And it's such a simple thing if they could just acknowledge how much pain they've caused for no good reason. But this is something that almost none of us are ever going to receive, and we have to learn how to accept this, to accept that there's no justice, no acknowledgement, that this is just unfair, just very deeply unfair, and we have to accept it the way it is and learn to move forward with our lives with this very unfair thing in our past. Another thing that can make all of this a lot harder is if we are being hoovered. If the narcissist is trying to convince us to give him or her another chance, and maybe they're promising us all these things, maybe these dreams that we're having to let go of. Maybe they're promising us these dreams that they're going to make them come true finally. Or maybe they're saying things that we've been waiting to hear. Maybe they're pretending to finally understand something that we've been trying desperately to get across to them. It's really hard to be in this position where they're saying and doing all these things we've been waiting and longing for so long, and to somehow continually remind ourselves that this narcissist has not changed, that this relationship won't be healthy, that these promises are going to fall through, and that really all we are hearing are empty promises, lies, and manipulations. When we're struggling so hard to let go of this toxic relationship for all the reasons I just mentioned, and we may have a trauma bond on top of all that, and this person is sitting there right in front of us promising us all the things that we long for, it's really, really hard to resist the temptation to give this person another chance. I want you to know that it's okay to miss the narcissist. It's okay to grieve for the narcissist. It's okay to feel like you want nothing more than to be back in this toxic, awful relationship. It's normal to long for the communication and the contact and the relationship that you thought you had, that you really, really needed. These were needs that you had that you thought might be being filled somehow. Or if you just kept trying harder and you just kept putting up with the narcissist's crap, and you just pushed a little harder and waited a little longer, maybe then the narcissist would give you what you needed. It's normal to spend a lot of time chasing this dream that you had, chasing this phantom, this ghost of a person that you were very, very much attached to. It would be kind of weird if the minute you realize that you've been duped, that this guy or girl is an abuser and that this relationship is not healthy and that you need to get away, it would be kind of weird if you just all of a sudden were totally okay with that and could let go at a moment's notice. Of course, it's going to take some time to process your loss, to process the betrayal, to learn how to accept all the things that I just mentioned. Of course, it's perfectly natural for you to deeply, deeply want to go back in time, to go back into this fantasy, the cognitive dissonance, and go back to the place where you still felt like there was some hope for all the things that you wanted so badly. Don't beat yourself up for wanting to be back with somebody that was abusing you, for missing someone that abused you. It's perfectly normal. It's just part of the process of healing. But also don't forget the reality of this situation, and don't forget that anytime that you give in to that urge to go back, you're really just starting the clock over again. The ending of this relationship, if it's abusive and toxic, it's really inevitable. You're going to have to process these things and learn to accept and live with these things at some point, as difficult as it might be. And remember, what happens to you in these types of relationships is never okay. The things that the narcissist does to people is never okay. It will never be okay. For you to accept the reality of what was done to you doesn't mean that what was done to you is or was okay. But that doesn't mean that you cannot learn how to be okay. You can be okay. You can heal as you move on. And you can be happy and whole again with somebody that really cares. Or maybe you can learn to be happy and whole on your own. But you will never be able to be happy, whole, and at peace in a toxic, abusive relationship. And one more thing. I know that when we are in a relationship with a narcissist, it's really easy for us to build the narcissist up in our mind as some extremely important person, an object of our love, affection, and the narcissist becomes bigger than life in our head because that's just kind of what narcissists do. But the truth is, the narcissist is nothing special. There are many, many, many narcissists in this world, and they are not special at all. They are shallow, they are childish, they have a very superficial, immature view of the world. They may be talented maybe at sports, or maybe they're really academic, so they're smart in that way, or maybe they're really good at singing or writing or whatever, but there's really no depth there. There's really no emotional intelligence. There's really nothing there that they can offer to a relationship that's really worth missing at all. They're just another narcissist, just another really immature person that doesn't know how to communicate or connect with another person. And I want you to look at it like this. If you had a really close friend that was in a relationship with an abusive, toxic narcissist, and that friend got out of that relationship, I want you to look at your friend's narcissist and think, would I spend a whole bunch of time hung up on that person? Would I be worried and wondering and thinking over and over how to say things the right way to get my point across to that person? Would I be terribly worried for a long, long time about getting justice or making that person take accountability? Or would I be pining over that person and missing that person, like that person is so important and so irreplaceable? No, if this was your friend, a friend that you care about, a friend that you can see has a lot to offer the world, and you saw your friend break up with some jerk, narcissist, abuser, you probably wouldn't have any trouble letting go of that person in your head, and you'd probably wonder why your friend was having such a hard time. If you can kind of step out of yourself and look at your situation in the third person, I think this can help us a lot to put things in perspective and realize that the person that we're having so much trouble letting go of is really nothing special at all. I hope this helps. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up and comment below any ideas you have for me for future videos. And don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you like this video and would like to see more like it in the future. Until next time, thanks. Bye.